Thank you. I see a counter at the top for you. It's saying 27, 28, 29, 30, 30, 30. Yeah, you look beautiful.
I hope it's not echoing. Is it echoing? It might be echoing. Okay,
Uh,
so
yes, baby.
I'm going to
How you
briefly
doing?
introduce myself. We're going to introduce ourselves and then we're going to get into some background of what we came on here to talk about. And then after that, we probably not even going um, interact with the viewers until we're done letting the Lord do what He likes to do when this beautiful sister and I get together. Once He gets to talking, we stop talking. Um, so I am, for those who are on my page, you shared it to your page already, sis?
I'm doing it now.
Okay. For those who don't know me, I am Dr. Mia Hartsfield. I'm 41 years old, current resident of Texas, and dedicated, boldly faithful servant of God. And that's who I am. And this is
Okay, so I am Tamika. Sorry, I keep looking around because I have my 4-year-old Jonah with me, and he is trying to get out the door. As you can see, he can pull up a chair to unlock the door. In any event, I am a former Houstonian, Chicagoan, currently residing in Botswana, Africa. And the story of going from America to Africa has definitely been one of, of walking by faith and not by sight. Yeah, I don't hear you. You muted. You muted yourself. It looks like it's on mute at the bottom of my screen. It looks like your microphone is muted. Okay. All right. Well, while we're waiting on Tamia to go through her technical difficulties, here's the interesting thing. One thing I've learned on this walk is that nothing ever looks like, sounds like, or goes like you think it's going to go. But generally, things turn out exactly like they're supposed to for God's glory and for our good. So your mute is off now, sis. Say something.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I guess you were supposed to say whatever you said because Jesus, literally, as soon as you finish talking about everything happens for our good. and I'm a lamb back. So
Yeah,
about a
yeah,
year ago, I did Bodywork did an event called Overcoming Me to Become Her, right? And this year, you know, Bodywork came, we all came together and we were supposed to have another event in May. And I was like, I don't feel like it's supposed to be a Bodywork thing. And I reached out. No, I prayed to the Lord on it. And he gave me the 7 years of bold faith. And I had not realized that our 7 year journey was coming to a close, right?
yeah,
And as I was thinking about it, I think Tamika called me
yeah,
because I'm like, okay, well, Lord, well, who am I supposed to do it with? And she called my phone or she texted me or something. And I was
yeah,
like, okay, Lord, we about to have that conversation. Because me and her had talked about it for a long time. Like, when are we going? I wonder when the Lord is gonna call us to, you know, discuss how we met. Because
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
story in it. How we met. Our last 7 years, well, the first 3.5 years, we was like, you know, like this. After that
yeah,
3.5 year mark, where, you know, and when we get to that, we'll get to that, because I want to say that's like the climax of our story together. But I really wanted to come on here with my beautiful sister and vow partner, which we're gonna get into that too, and talk about how faith works, how your journey towards faith is not like, oh, you go to church and your faith automatically manifests. No, it takes work. It takes a lot of dying daily. It takes a lot of things, and it causes you to go backwards a lot and move forward at the same time. So I want to take this time, since again she was born before me. I'm gonna let her, and we're gonna do the plot flow. I'm a language arts teacher. I love plot. I love plot analysis. For me, it stands for a person living out testimony. So I want her to give her background first, her exposition that led up to our 7 year journey together, and then I'm gonna give mine, and then we're gonna start going year by year, because each year something different was happening, something different was going on. And it's not going to take long because we can sum it up. We can sum it up, but we
yeah,
just want to be as detailed and specific as possible so that the Lord can move through us and into you the way He wants it to. So after this, unless my co-partner right here has any, you know, comments that she wants to add before she gets into her background, after this, we're going to just tap into the journey. So we're going to start with the background up until July 2017. That's what we're stopping.
yes,
We're starting
yes,
for her, whatever year. If she's comfortable with her age, I'm starting from 83, but it's going to be real brief. I promise.
yes, 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 indeed. Okay, so, ooh, when talking about where to start, I won't go back to the year I was born, but I will go back pretty far for me, because can you hear Jonah in the background? Because I feel like I need to take him out now. Okay, so can you give me 30 seconds to take him to his day? And just, sorry, my husband was supposed to come get him, but you know, life.
Okay, I'm back on. All right. So while we're waiting for her, let me open up the chat and see if we got anybody in the chat. What's up, y'all? So we waiting on her. Listen, this is live and in real time. I don't believe in doing, you know, anything all too glamorized or anything like that. I am and I would like to say we are a very impromptu, what do you call that? I forgot what you call it, but it's when you acting without a script. We don't do scripted here. We don't do scripted. We like it to be
Facts.
raw and uncut. You ready?
Yes, ma'am. I
All right.
am. Okay, so I'm going to start with my testimony at about 7, 8 years old, because that was when I went to live with my grandmother. My mother was a single mother, and she sent me to live with my grandmother, my great grandmother, from the age of about 7 to 15. And it was really interesting because during those years, all I really remember was going to church 7 days a week, watching Christian television 7 days a week. Um, and yeah, just being there in that environment all those years. And of course, during that time, even as a kid, the enemy was in my mind, right? Uh, oh, well, your mom must not have wanted you. She must not have loved you. See, she threw you away, kind of thing, right? And then fast forward to moving back in with my mom at the age of 15 and living with her and my stepfather and my brothers for the first time. And going through that was an adjustment, you know, after having lived with my grandmother for as long as I did. And some things took place when I lived with my mom, where my stepdad was inappropriate. And again, you talk about going from broken to even more broken. It was a situation where it was just like, Father, just feeling thrown away completely. And it may not seem like this part of the story is um, pertinent, but it is. And I'll tell you why it is, because during those years, what was happening was the Most High was placing in me the things He needed me to have for what He wanted me to do later in life. And the enemy was trying to thwart that plan. But God, oh my gosh, but God. Um, Here's the thing. I don't know if anybody can even hear me at this point because Tamia, you're frozen on my end. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's her. Guys, and it's cool. The devil is a lie. He is. He cannot stop what God has. That is for sure. All right. Hello. Hey guys, I am on here and yeah, we're doing
Cut off for you too.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Did it cut off for you?
Yeah, it's waiting for host.
It cut me off. Or Jesus cut us off. Okay. So maybe did it cut you off?
Did it cut me off of the stream? No.
Yeah. No.
Mm-mm.
I guess I wasn't supposed to be present for that part.
I
Okay.
don't know. I just stopped it though.
Okay.
Because I thought I was frozen. Remember, I'm in Africa, and that's the thing that I was going to tell you. Like, on average, when I'm live, the signal usually does freeze and kicks us
Hmm.
out. Well, you gotta remember, like, we're not necessarily 5G and like that over here.
Look, obviously me either because I had full bars, but nevertheless, again, bars ain't got nothing to do with Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm not gonna ask you what
So
I missed. Did I interrupt you?
I just stopped, like I said, because I wasn't sure what was heard and what wasn't.
Okay.
So
So maybe we need to reset.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
either that or you'd have to edit out that first 15 minutes.
No, because everything is needed.
Okay.
So let's just reset. What is he? So what is he saying?
So here's my
Okay.
thing. You know, the first thing I was thinking, like
What?
the enemy doesn't want us to tell our story. He doesn't. Because
Hmm.
I was starting with the dark, the ugly, the nasty, you know. But to me, as I've been here in Africa, um, and definitely the past 6 months, you know what he's been revealing to me
Hmm.
is the unclean spirit that has held me bound was the spirit of rejection.
Hmm.
It's been a spirit of rejection. So I
Same.
started with that. I started with talking
Same.
about, when my mom sent me to live with my grandmother, I was plagued with the spirit of rejection. Why ain't I good enough? Why she keep the boys and she ain't keep me? When I went to live with my mom and her husband thought it was okay to touch me, it was like, but why? Why couldn't he love me like a daughter? And I look at all the choices I've made, and it was always about a spirit of rejection.
Hmm.
And God showing me that in the midst of that, He was still planting all those seeds that are now flourishing, but Satan kept trying to make me feel rejected. Why? Because if we feel rejected by our earthly family, if we feel rejected by the people in our lives who are supposed to love us and care for us and be there for us, how do we know how to trust the Father? We don't.
We don't.
We don't. How do we know that his love is unfailing? We don't.
We
Because the
don't.
enemy tries to cloud our examples with all the dirtiness of the world. And if he can get us caught up in that, then he can get us to abort the mission. Because what you know and what I know is Satan can't stop what God has planned. He can't. He can
Absolutely
get
not.
us to stop it. He can get us
Mm-hmm.
to abort it. He can get
Yep.
us to get distracted. What you say about me? Squirrel, squirrel,
Because the squirrels be coming.
rainbows. Exactly, exactly. And here's what he showed me. And you said it before I left. Look for you. He's giving me here in Botswana. He's giving me. And I see it. I see what it's like to be that younger sister who don't feel like you're loved, who don't feel like
Mm-hmm.
you're worthy. I see what it's like to see someone who has a disease to please.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're saying like, yeah, but are you going back to the Father? It's like, yeah, 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 I hear you. I know that look. I know that. I know that response. And it's funny because I believe that's what brought us both together. You
Yes.
know, you know it and I know it. We both had mother issues. We both had disease please issues. We both, but at the
Mhm.
core of both of us as well was and is an unfailing desire to do the will of the Most High. That's the
Amen.
thing, I've always loved about you. I'm like, look, I don't care what it looked like. If Tamia feel like the Lord is telling her to do it, she don't care about what the world is saying. She
And
don't care
don't,
what it looked like, what it looked like, what
and
people
don't,
think.
and
And I
don't.
feel like that's what keeps us going together is because you don't have to understand my walk and I don't have to understand yours. But what we're both clear on is we're walking the path that God has laid out for us. And that's all that matters. So, like you said, this ain't
Amen.
scripted. It just is what it is.
It just is what it is. It is what it is. And to piggyback off of, well, not piggy, lamb, beat, whatever, to back up what she put down. Um, a lot about faith has everything to do with your how you view your upbringing, right? That was a hard lesson Tamika and I learned together. Because one thing's for sure and two things for certain, is our upbringing fought a lot. Our upbringing fought a lot in our journey together. And to give you a little, so I guess that's what he wanted us to talk about, our upbringing. So you talked about yours, I'm gonna talk about mine. As you can see, I'm a very chocolate sister. Back in the 80s and 90s, chocolate was natte. Nobody liked it. Okay. In addition to that, and I have to go back to that place of perception, right? So I can't go to how I perceive my upbringing now. I have to go to how I perceive my upbringing then, so you can see our growth from there to now, right? That's the teacher in me coming out. Y'all just don't pay no attention to it, just let it happen. So growing up, I was a sister of four. I was the second oldest. um I was always very different. I was very smart, but I was not very confident. I was taught early on to compare myself to other people. If I did not fit into the mold of what other people thought was acceptable or pleasing to the eye, I had to adjust and conform, and that then turns into a loss of identity. So if I'm constantly trying to keep up with what I'm seeing, I'm only keeping up with what I'm seeing, not who I'm being.
Mhm.
So I was a straight A student, very talented. I sing, I dance, but again, none of that truly gave me the fleshly satisfaction that I was looking for. Like Tamika said, the rejection. It was constantly like you turn it in a paper, you study, and you turn it in, and you get an F, and you like how, right? How do I get an F and I got every answer right? Because it's a world's answer, and trying to keep up with the world is like trying to keep up with a trend that does not stay the same from one second to the next. And that's what I did. From 83 on to about, I want to say, 29, I kept trying to keep up with these invisible trends, like, oh, the fanciest clothes, or whichever friend group looked like they had a lot going on. I went over there to that. Very promiscuous, because promiscuity ran in my family. I'm just gonna keep it a band. It ran in my family, so it was all up and through me. Lying, habitual liar. Don't ask me what day it is. I'm not telling you the truth. You're gonna be late. Um, just, but on the positive note, the negative things about me were that my promiscuity, my lying. But one thing that never changed about me was my love for people. My love for people despite myself, because I did not know how to love myself. I didn't know. I felt like the love that I got from other people was loving myself, if that makes sense. Like, I did not know. It's like if nobody loved me, I didn't know what love was. And however they loved me is how I defined love. So if it was abusive, that was love for me. If it was a negative comment, that was love for me. If it was a positive comment, that was hate for me, because I didn't believe it. I felt like it was a lie. Positive compliments did not push me the way negative ones was, because negative comments gave me something to fix. Positive comments made me question the integrity or the truth behind it. Like, you lying, you trying to get something from me, right? Um, and all of that. But again, on the positive side, I sing, I dance, I cook, work on cars, do hair, all that stuff. But again, those things even did not, they gave me something for a moment. But the first time somebody walked up and said, "Ooh, that's whack," it was whack. And that's just it. And that was up until the whole, do you want to build a school now? Do you want to? And I know y'all like all this stuff y'all just said, and y'all gonna build a school, and that's what y'all gonna teach, all that negative stuff that y'all was doing. But it gets good. It gets good.
Here's the thing, sis. And remember, you and I talked about this in Zimbabwe when things really got hard there. I remember reaching out to you saying, why aren't people truthful about what it means to follow the Most High? Because the reality is, we read the Bible and it's full of people that you be like, how he use him? How he use her? Outside of Jesus, who was the perfect person that he used? Nobody. Everybody he used had issues that he had to clean them up from. I mean, come on. If you look at the story of David, hello, and yet the scripture refers to him as a man after the Most High's own heart. But that's what we do now. We do look at people who are willing to be honest, like yourself and like myself, about, hey, we got some skeletons, we got some dirt. As a matter of fact, we wasn't just dirty, we was filthy. And like you said, people like, and y'all really think he called you to open a school for daddy? And
That part.
Who better? Who better? Because at the end of the day, one of the things that I feel like drew us to get to each other with this is both of our desires to see the people that he sent for us to educate. Because I feel like that was my thing. I never felt seen, not true. You know, and so you do all these things, like you said, you get the good grades, you dance, you sing, you act, and you're like, just see me, see me, see me. You act out, see me, see me, see me. And I used to hate it when I was a classroom teacher, and people would always talk about the behaviors of the children. And so my thing is, that's the what. What's the why? There's always a why behind the what. Go ahead. I know you. I know you.
Woo! Because you okay, because it's and it's always the why. And I was just talking to a sister the other day about that. I was saying nobody asks, like, when you see somebody do something, nobody, the first thing they say is don't do that. They don't say, why did you do that, or what were your thoughts before you did what you did. You immediately go based off the action and you attack the action and forget that that action is attached to a human. Right. Of one of God's children, to be precise. Yeah. Right. And you just forget that you were once a child yourself.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing I think we forget as well is that anger is never an initial emotion. No. It's never. If you think about it, when you see a child act out, think about it for us as adults. Whenever we snap off or whatever, that's never the first thing that happens. Usually you like, hey, hi. So can I tell you something?
It's a buildup.
Okay. Hey, guy. Hey. All right now. But it's not until you snap, crackle, and pop that it's like, oh my God, why they have to go there? And it's the same thing with children. And it's like, no. When are we going to stop and see them and ask the Most High to give us eyes to not just see the what, but to be willing to see the why? And again, I think between that and our desire to provide a purer environment for our children to learn who they were or who they are, and our history and our culture and the feast and all of those things that were supposed to set us apart as a nation. I remember
Mhm.
when your mom had been talking about you and talking about you, baby, that 4th of July pool party. When we finally met, it was like, that's it.
That's it.
That July 4th, 2017, little did we know how much our lives were going to change.
My God, listen, because okay, so right before that, I had just finished my master's degree. I had just got my teacher certification. Not to mention that bachelor's degree that took me through the baby. It took me for all you BSA and accounting people, shout out. Cause I saw one for me. But when I fell in love with education, that was it. It was like I started seeing things that I could not see as a student or a child. I started seeing myself like in boys and girls and seeing like how and just wanting to fix it. Like I'm like, I need to fix this. This is ridiculous. And it was like, you can only do so much as a teacher. You could only do so much as a teacher. You get your small set of kids, and it's like being a parent. You have your child, and you send your child out into these other people, and they come back different every time. And you like, what happened? Oh my God. And it was like, okay, Lord. And that was as a sub. I hadn't even started when I met you, I hadn't even started teaching as a certified teacher yet. I met her. Jesus was like, I need this to happen right here. Like I need it to happen right here at this moment because I was on the brink, like I was married. Me and my husband we weren't going through it, but I was going through it. And what I was going through was attacking my marriage. Let me just say that. What I was going through internally and spiritually was attacking my marriage, all my relationships. It was like the Lord was like, so it's time for you to move. It's time for you to do something. No, first it was time for you to do something. Then the barbecue happened. Because I had never been out of town. I had never been on a plane. I had never been out of the state of Illinois on a flying device ever. My first time flying on a plane was July of 2017. And I went to visit my mom, who was close friends with Tamika. And my mother had a 4th of July barbecue. And then Tamika started talking. Or Jesus started talking through Tamika.
Here's the interesting thing. You started your certified teaching walk when I met you going into my year 8 of teaching. So I met you going into my year of new beginnings.
Come on, Jesus.
Yeah. Little did
Come on.
I know that that was going to be my last year in the classroom as a certified teacher. That was my
Wow.
last year. I have not stepped foot back inside a classroom after the 2017-2018 school year.
Right. That makes, oh my God. So this was a relay. So
Yeah, right.
this
I
was
passed
a
the
relay.
baton.
Period.
Yeah.
And not only that, again, language arts teacher. That was the inciting incident. So as she was ending her journey and going into her leadership walk with God, unbeknownst to her, I was going into my teaching walk with God. I was a double major. So I'm one of them. I'm a GT, ADHD, OCD, ODD. I got a BIP, IEP, all that, baby. I got special needs. I got some special needs. Okay? I got special needs. All right. I'm a special needs kid on a GT track. I know that sounds crazy, but I double major in everything. And we finna get to that in a minute too, because I still got beef with you about that one, and you already know what I'm talking about. But whatever. So I was double majoring as a teacher on the leader coach track, right? Again, we didn't know, but this is what you like to call on plot the inciting incident. We just gave you our background, and he just walked us right into the inciting incident where I was starting my teaching journey and she was ending hers. Y'all better pay attention. How the Lord go ahead, sis. I just had to put that little teacher part in there. Because this is good right here. This is good.
Here's the interesting thing. It was at that same time that I was starting the doctoral program. In which my
No, you need to do
sisters
that whole
joined
conversation.
me.
Do that whole conversation.
Well, no, see what had happened was I was gonna get a second master's, and then you
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Ooh," and then I was like, "Ooh," and
No,
then
it
I
wasn't.
was
No,
like,
I was
"Okay."
like, oh, you better tell him the truth. So this lady called my sister and tried to clown her because she was talking about she was getting 2 masters. And she was like, how did she say that to me? I'm just trying to get, and she was like, she said something about don't get 2 masters. I should get a doctor. I'm like, well, you should. I'll do it with you. That's how that conversation went. Don't try to.
Yeah, because some people was like, "I'll walk this walk with you," and I was like, "Okay." And so, yeah, and so then what had happened was at the same time, December 25th, 2017, we had our first meeting for Rise Christian Academy, which
We
was
did.
IS at the time,
It was
Israel
I,
International School of
full of
Excellence.
excellence.
Um, and actually, let's backtrack because
Yeah,
we have
let's
to go
backtrack.
all the way back. Okay, so go back to the 4th of July. We met 4th of July. Yay, yay. Oh my gosh, this is so great. We should do this.
Right.
Let's fast forward to August 26th. I bring that up because just to show you like other stuff was going on. August 26th, Hurricane Harvey happened.
Right. And guess what? Hurricane something is happening right now.
Exactly, Hurricane Barrel right now. But Hurricane Harvey happened, and you and I were on the phone back and forth about your mama because she was out there driving in the middle of the hurricane. I'm like, girl, if you don't go somewhere and sat down, the roads is all flooded everywhere. And then later that year, you came back. You came and was like, okay, I'm here. Let's do it. And I remember us standing at, what is it, 11411 Homestead, talking about, okay, we going to do this.
We
We
gonna
going to
do.
open up this school. We going to make us a vow that we going to do
Yeah.
this.
Now let me backtrack. So I came in July. We had the conversation, and as I stated before, I came to visit my mom in July. I was not in a good place mentally. Came back home, baby. After coming to Texas once and going home, I was depressed. Okay, I loved it. I loved every 7 days we spent there. Came home, I was like, I'm over it, Jesus. I'm over it. I want to go live in Texas because it was just it felt good. Now I know it felt right in my spirit, and we're gonna get to that later. But it felt right in my spirit. So again, me and my husband, he'll tell you, we had a whole issue. He was like, "No," and Jay, they don't have 8th grade graduations there, and I still got my job and my mom and this. So I'm like, so he was like, if I lose my job and Jalen don't graduate, then we can go. So my son got in trouble at school, and the principal literally said out her mouth, he's not going to cross my stage with that behavior. And then right after that, or before that, my husband lost his job. So then, even then, my husband was still like, no, 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 no. And then I almost lost my job because my dad had passed away. And I went to his funeral. I came back. A student then had said some crazy words to me, lost my cool a little bit. And my principal was like, it's students like that that'll get your certification taken. That was all I needed. Jesus was like, either you gonna move or I'm gonna make it so that you can't do nothing else. So I met her in July. I applied in August for my certification in Texas. The day that the student and I had the altercation, I think it was I took off 2 days. The day that my husband and I was supposed to go, the day before I was supposed to go back to work, my certification was official in the state of Texas. I quit my job on a Wednesday. I was a resident of Texas that Saturday. So it was like what? No, it was like November 3rd. No, it was like October 31st. I quit my job. That was the day my certification came valid. By November 5th, I was a full resident in the state of Texas. So that her August 26th is in the middle of there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I had to put that in there because it was a drop everything and go. And that's gonna make sense later. Go. Natural time.
No, so you came, we saw, we conquered, we were like, okay, let's do this. We pulled together a group of people that I thought that God wanted to be a part of it. And for that time, for that purpose, they were meant to be there. Because I'm clear, my saying, nothing happens that He doesn't cause or allow. And there was learning that took place during that process for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that my prayer has always been on this journey is for the Most High to bring who He wants and to remove those He didn't. And there were times, that He's brought you in, and there were times He moved you out, and brought you back.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and other individuals as well. So that first year was trying for sure. That, by the time I had quit my job in 2018 and said, okay, gonna go forward with this. And it was that year you had your job, I was doing mine. We were both in our doctoral program, and we were like, okay, we're all set. We're gonna do eyes, and all is gonna be well. And we reached out to certain individuals to see if we could have the classes, the cohorts at the campuses, and it was like, nah, that ain't gonna happen. And I remember being completely deflated in that process, feeling like, but this is such a great idea, and you realize more and more. And of course, the more we tell the story, it'll become more and more apparent how the scripture talks about man makes his plans, but God orders our steps.
Come on.
Yeah, we made plans for sure, but God was like, oh, you thought that was going to happen? And again, this is where faith comes in, right? Because we think we're walking by faith, but anytime you think you got the whole plan laid out with the backup plan and the backup plan to the backup plan, he's sitting there like, so where does faith come in? Excuse me, what about me? And yeah, so that first year, you and I bumped heads, us and the board bumped heads. Little by little, my board went from 7 to 5 to 4 to 3 to just the two of us. Just
Again.
the two of us.
Again.
So,
Again.
Yeah.
And then it went down to 1.
Yeah.
Then it went down to 1. So now we at home for choice.
Yeah.
So, well, should I say it's split kind of. So, once the speed in which Tamika and I moved did never aligned, right? Never. And Tamika is, and again, this is from my perspective, because I know we're going to go back and forth so you can see the different perspectives of what was going on, right? So I believe that our error, what he showed us with that first and that second group of people that we picked is we picked them. Mm-hmm. And that was the issue. Because we were so fixated on the vow, which is the part that we skipped. So I was sitting in my mama's driveway in my car, and I think Tamika was at home, and we made a vow to open the school for God. We was like, we're gonna open the school for him. We was like, we're gonna give him this school, and he gonna give us 2 chocolate brown baby girls so we can bounce them on our knees. And again, baby, we was like some little teenagers in the car talking about, oh, we finna do a talent show for Jesus, because that's what it was, a talent show for Jesus. Okay.
But also, let's talk about timing wise, because your thing was we have to get him to school first, then he give us the baby.
That my
thing was like, nah, dude, I'm older. I need him to give me my baby first. Once he give me my baby, then I'll give him a school.
That part. So we went, and then so there was already misalignment. You know what I'm saying? He was already showing us, and even though I feel like he was trying to prepare us to do this. We was like, nah, because we was like, we started this thing together, we gonna finish this thing together, but we kept trying to finish it our way. Like we were trying to do everything our way, And he kept showing us that the more we tried to do it our way, the more we got in his way. And it delayed. And I can't even say it delayed. It blinded us from seeing what he was doing. And when you can't see what he's doing, it gets a little. So when you can't see what he's doing, you got to set in your mind that your partner is blowing the mission. So you going to open up a whole nother school on your own called Home for Choice. That lasted all of 90 days and was created. So now we in like what we done passed. I passed a very important part. So we at 2018, right? 2018, you stopped at 2018, you quit. So 2018, Tamika quit a lot of things. 2018, okay? Because that whole doctorate program, when it was time for us to go to residency, I'm like, I'm going to residency. You scheduled yours? She was like, no. I'm like, why? This is like we at like we at the end of 2018. Because my residency was like June
of 2019.
Right. It wasn't, and no, my residency was June of 2019. My first.
I was still in the program when I started work at Grand Canyon. At Western Governors
WGU.
University.
Yeah.
I was still in the program at that point.
Yeah. But we was on a lot of things together. We was doing the school together. We was on the feast committee together. And we was going to school together. Gradually, Tamika started dropping out. I think the feast committee went first. Then the doctoral thing, then the school. And right when I went to residency in June, when I came back, my mom passed. And it was like everything had concluded. Like that was my first year being the head of the feast committee. That was my first full year teaching in Texas. And it was my first full year of the doctoral program. And then my mama passed away. And then 6 months later, I had to have a hysterectomy. So there went my bouncing, beautiful, brown baby girl. And me and Tamika had a whole, like, we didn't have an argument because we had an agreement, right? We both was going to have bouncing, brown baby girls. But again, at this point, I told Tamika, and she could believe me. I don't know, but now she probably does. But in that moment, she was probably like, girl, you crazy. God was like, I can give you a physical baby. I can give you a physical baby girl. I can give you an abundance of spiritual baby girls. So I went for the abundance. And anybody who knows me knows I wanted a little chocolate mini tone Mia, okay? Like I wanted her with the dimples and everything. Looked like me, me, my mama, everybody. But when God comes to you and says, I can give you this, or I can give you this, you take this. And that was like the beginning of my faith, right? Because making that decision, even when I went to church, people like, why would you do something like that? And they're not trying to hear because God gave me these options. You know what I'm saying? Like when I made a vow to open a school for God, even if my partner decided to drop out, I was going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because what the book say, it's better to vow a vow. It's better not to vow a vow than to vow a vow and not keep it. And I was like, it's a no for me. So whatever I have to say, and another thing, y'all don't know if she's ever heard me say this, but in another thing in that moment, it was like, now you have to sacrifice something because it's a possibility that she may not finish. So you have to give me some extra because y'all said y'all was going to do it together. You doing it by yourself wasn't an option. And that plagued me a lot because I'm really afraid of God. Like I am afraid. Like if you ain't never got a whooping from Jesus or you just didn't know that it was coming from him, you know how severe they can be. Like they can be. I will fight a giant that I can see before I intentionally upset God. Because you can't see it coming. It affects your whole family. And it really shuts you down. Like that Jonah belly of the whale. It's real. Okay. It don't look like a real whale. but he will put you in it. So like for me, it was kind of like I have to do this. I have to do this. So if I have to sacrifice my ability to have a baby girl so that I can open a school and raise up daughters, spiritual daughters for God, it is what it is. And I literally went in, had that hysterectomy. I woke up the next day and he was downloading the whole curriculum. It was like, and I was like, oh my God. And then I called Tamika and she was so mad at me. Okay, go ahead, pick it up.
Well, I was gonna say at the same time all of those things was happening with you, I had gotten pregnant and had a very, very tumultuous pregnancy. Like Jonah was my fourth bio, but by far my hardest pregnancy, where I was sick literally every day, all the way up until his emergency C section. And so, like you were saying, as he was taking you through the process that he was taking you through, even in having your hysterectomy and losing your mother, he was giving me what he was giving me. But at the same time, he was birthing in you what he was birthing in you. And I just remember the most vivid memory that I have is right after giving birth to Jonah and having the C-section, and you sent me the screenshots, I think, of your logos or whatever, for Home for Choice, asking my opinions. And I'm thinking, dude, I just got cut from the rooter to the tutor in emergency surgery, and you asking me about logos for, and it was one of those things where, again, our paths were going seemingly very differently at that time. And it's like we were both going through the issues that we were going through. Because, like you said, you were going through having your hysterectomy, but still very much grieving the loss of your mother, and then with what I was dealing with having the emergency surgery, a son in the NICU, and all of the issues that I was going through with having PTSD and postpartum stress disorder from Jonah's birth and from having a baby with chronic health issues, it's like we weren't able to be there for each other. And it was like, what does this now look like? We made a vow, and I remember at one point being very adamant, like, dude, I didn't make a vow. I was just like, yeah, I want to do it, but it wasn't like a vow. It was just yeah, it would be nice to kind of thing, and so I would definitely say that was for sure, I would say, one of the hardest points in our relationship. Um, I'm pretty sure you were ready to throw me away. I was ready to throw you away. Like, dude, I got too much stress going on, and again, you just never know how things are going to work out. And I don't think either one of us could have seen that coming less than 2 years into the process. Because again, you keep in mind, our original meeting was July of 2017. By July of 2019, 2 years later, I'm pregnant with Jonah. Your mom has passed, you know, you're dealing with your medical issues. It was just a lot, a lot. Yeah.
It was. And I feel like that was our climax, right? That was the climax of our story. That was when God started showing us, like, okay, y'all still gonna do it together. Y'all just not gonna do it
Yeah.
together. And I feel like that's what, again, when we started talking about it, when we were in it, keep in mind, I guess we need to tell it from the faith part, because we've told this story to plenty of people from a carnal place. From a faith place, we didn't see what God was doing. And because we couldn't see what he was doing, we ignored the parts, like all the way down to the end. I want to say like 3 days before Tamika left, I told her every time my mom moved, like he knew I was really, really like this with my mama. Like me and my mama, I don't care how toxic the relationship was. I don't care how, like that was my twin. That was my ride. Like me and my mama was real close. And because God knew me, whenever he was like, when he moved her to Texas, he gave me another mother in Chicago. Mama Kim from the Israel guy. When he knew she was about to pass away, he gave me Tamika. Right. And we didn't realize that till our like year 4 or 5. I'm like, that's what we was supposed to be doing. Right. It was like that. But in that moment, like God was trying to show us that yes, you guys agreed to do this thing together for me, but the way y'all trying to do it together is getting in my way, right? So, and he started trying to show us in our physical bodies, like, look at this. She had the baby. You had to give up y'all not paying attention that y'all doing the same things, but I'm asking y'all to do it 2 different ways, and y'all are still trying to force this idea of what you think I want instead of paying attention to what I'm showing you. Which again, we helped each other build each other's schools. Like we did. We were unconsciously building 2 ministries, but we was focused on the ministry that the Lord, and it's kind of like he say, whatever you ask for, I'm gonna give it to you. Okay, you want to focus on this brick and mortar, I'm gonna let you focus on this brick and mortar. But while you focusing on this brick and mortar, I'm still using you to do other things, and you won't realize it until you finish doing what you think I want you to do, right? You're not gonna see what I was actually doing with you until I can get this out your way, right? So at that point, I feel like he was showing us, and that should have gave us peace to be like, look, sis, it's clear that God is saying, like, maybe we need to seek him on how he wants us to do. And I wish I could go back to us then, like, maybe we should seek him on how he wants us to do this, because I feel like we're forcing our idea of what it's supposed to be. And even though we said that we doing this for him, we never stopped to ask him, how do you want us to do it for you? Because I feel like and then you could say your part. I was afraid because I'm like, I feel bad because I vowed this to you. So kind of ask you to help me do this is kind of, I felt bad. Like, how do you go and ask somebody to help you do something you said you was going to do for them? Like, and eventually I got to that point. But at that point, I'm like, we got to figure this out. We got to figure this out. And it just kept having us do this because he like, you're not even paying attention. You just focused on trying to figure this out on your own and being prideful, because that's really what it was for me, being prideful and not coming in and asking me for help because you don't know how to do this for me.
I definitely feel like we kept getting in our way. You know, we were so locked in on we made a vow and we got it completed that yes, we kept doing what we thought he wanted. And what I love about our Father is, and my husband says it all the time, he knows our heart, therefore he meets you right where you are. And so no experiences are wasted. And what you realize is that even though it didn't have to go the way it did, it still worked out for our good. It still made us better equipped for that next step when we got to it, you know, and that's the part that I look at and say, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful that he didn't give up on us. I'm grateful that he said, eesh, my daughters, they down there, they got a good heart, but eesh, you know, and you look at it, and even as I sit here now on the African continent in my 4th country, I could not have imagined in 2019 or 2020 or 2021 when we were going back and forth about what this was going to look like. I couldn't imagine sitting here now. But I can definitely say all of those things prepared me for this phase that he has me in right now. even when we left the US, we came over to Africa in 2022 for the first time. And I would be remiss if I didn't go back to where this started at when you said give your background, right? And I said it started in with me as a 7-year-old living with my grandmother, right? And listening to church and going to church 7 days a week. And then what happened with my mom when God said it's time for me to go over to Africa, I thought that's crazy. Like, there's no way. There's no way. And one day I was getting ready for Sabbath rest. It's Friday evening, getting ready to just unwind. And he brought back this memory as clear as day of when I was 15 going to my mom's church after I had moved back with her, and she went to an international church where they opened up schools in Africa. Thinking, oh my gosh, one day I want to do that. And why do I say that? Because what I realized is him sending me to live with my great grandmother was a part of building me up spiritually for what I was going to need right now. Not for what was going on with that 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old girl, not even for that 20-year-old. Yeah, it helped that 20-year-old, that 30-year-old. But he knew at 50, you're going to be in Africa and you're going to need to pull from this. That's the thing. At 15, when I went back to live with my mother and my stepfather decided to be inappropriate with me, the enemy was trying to kill the seed that was planted inside me at 15, because it was at 15 that God said, I'm going to send you to Africa to open up a school for me. But it was also at 15 that I was being touched inappropriately. That overshadowed me, right? That overshadowed me for the next 30 years. I did not remember that memory of that church until right before it was time to go to Africa. And I was like, God, I need to know that it's you sending me and that I'm not doing this on a whim. And that's when he reminded me. And I went and researched that church. I was like, let me see, did I make this up? And I researched that pastor and I researched that church. And it talked about the different schools they had opened up in the orphanages and stuff. And I was like, wow. So I'm here to encourage whoever it is that listens to this, that you look at your past and you're like, why did I have to go through this? And why did I have to go through that? Understand, it's not that God wanted it. Did he allow it? Yes, because Satan can't do anything that he doesn't allow. But he allows it because he knows he can use it. He allows it because he's already seen the end from the beginning. So he knows that Satan isn't going to break you. He allows it because he knows it's going to strengthen the bond between you and him once you truly turn to him and see that you have been not only called but chosen for something special. Because see, special people are chosen for things, but that don't mean it's an easy walk. It's not. Christianity have you believing that if you've been called and chosen, then it should be roses and rainbows. That's a lie from the pit of hell. It is not. It's not. And so and here's the thing, as I sit here now, even in leaving America, thinking once again everything was going to be perfect. I'm going to Africa. I'm living in Zimbabwe. And since you know better than anybody, because I called you and we've talked in Zimbabwe, we've talked in Tanzania, we've talked in. Ain't no way you'd have told me when I left that this was going to be the journey. Ain't no way you'd have told me when I left to finally open the school that he told me to open, that 6 months later I was going to get kicked out the country. But here I sit a year later and it's still working out exactly like the vision that he's given me. And I'm not even in the country anymore. That's because our Father is so much bigger than we can imagine. His plans for us are so much bigger than we can imagine. And you finally, once you get to this 7 years of bold faith, you finally get to the point where you just sit back and be like, okay, all right. So we now have a saying, we don't know, but we gonna go. because God said so. That's it. When we came
Period. I
back
like
home,
that.
period. When we
I
came
like that.
home in November, December, because my mother-in-law was sick, and everybody like, y'all going back to Africa? And we're like, yeah, for what? I'm like, I don't know. God said go back, but what you going back to do? I don't know. But you got everything here. And here's the thing, and Tamia, when we got to Africa, things were hard. Y'all, we were
Yeah.
in the house with no electricity, no hot water, no roof. We had a roof, but no ceiling. I mean, the children of Israel going through the wilderness, that was me and my family. It
Yeah.
was. And
It
he
was.
gave us the ability to come back to the US to see, are you still going to choose me? And we did. And we did. We like, yeah, we're going back. And now he didn't even let us stay in Tanzania. Out of the mouth of our son, he said it's time to go. Our
Right.
11-year-old, because come on, you and I know that our sons, Jason and Josiah, will say some stuff to us where you be like,
Blow your mind.
right.
Jesus.
So, right. So listen to your children because he will
Come
use
on. Out of the mouth of
whoever.
babes.
He
Out of
will
the mouth
use
of
them. And
babes.
he used our son to say, okay, it's time to go to the next destination. And now here we are looking at it like this. Okay. Because as of July 4th, what's that, 3 days ago, we have now entered into year 8. Year 8 is new beginnings.
Amen. And I'm here for it. Okay. I'm ready for the new beginning because I've been in the belly of this well and learning the patience of Job for like the past 3 years since 2021 when I tempted the Lord by quitting my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, that it was all necessary. So recently, I can tell you why he did that. So my mom passed away. I gotta do it in order. My mama passed away. Tamika had her baby, and I was trying to find my mom's dad. And it started becoming a very debilitating and depressing situation. So I started writing about it. And I was letting Tamika read my stuff. And she was like, oh, you should publish it. I'm like, publish it? And again, I'm like a crackhead when it comes to doing new stuff. Give me something new to do, baby. Okay? I'm like, yeah. So I'm writing the poetry, again, breadcrumb, right? Listen, Tamika is always the one that brings me the breadcrumbs, okay? But he don't allow her to do it no more now, and we're gonna get into that. But back then, like when Lord was putting me on, I told her all the time, he sent me here to walk with you through your process and learn leadership through your process. But I don't think you could walk with me through my leader process. And she was mad when I said that, but now she's starting to see why, because I had a heavy dependency on human. Like if they didn't tell me it was good, I would shut everything down. And God got tired of that, which is another reason why sister told me he took my mom when he did, because she was in his way, because my mother was my God. Like, and I hate to say it, but it's true. She was my God. She determined how I viewed myself, how I viewed other people, how I viewed her, how I viewed life itself. So once he took her, then my trial started. Like, okay, are you gonna turn to me? Then he took my ability to have kids. Are you gonna turn to me? Then he took my church home. We're not gonna get too deep off into that.
Yeah.
But he shook the foundation of my faith by taking my church home. And it's like, are you still gonna follow me? Right. So then, I'm getting all off a tangent, but long story short, it was tumultuous because at that point, my faith was shaking, my confidence was shaking, everything was shaking. So I started quitting everything. Like I signed up for a principal certification program. I quit that. I quit my job. But the only thing I didn't quit was that doctorate degree. And that was it. That was non-negotiable. That was it. And writing. I kept writing my books and I kept my doctorate degree. Everything else was background noise. It was expendable. It could go. Friends, whoever. It was like, I'm gonna finish just doctorate, and I'm gonna write these books, because those were the two things that the Lord just would not say no to. He kept saying yes. Notice we ain't talking about building a school no more on my end. After Home for Choice, I was like, you know what, Lord, I don't know what you want me to do, because it fizzled out. Like, I tried to do it during the pandemic. We was all hybrid. I felt like that would be. I'm like, the Lord, time such as this, Lord. He's like, no, and no tomorrow, because that was never the type of school he wanted me to build. Because I've always been a writer. I've written plays, I've written songs, I've been writing poetry since I was a kid, but I never thought he was calling me to write. I never thought he was calling me to write. And I know she probably got to go because it's late her time. But I really want us to get into, so now we've talked about how, we started this journey together. Now I want us to talk about this ministry that he's built within. I didn't even know so we in like 2023 at this point, because that was when I tried to open a charter school and Jesus said no. And I was like, Tamika, how, Sway? I done built a school already. Like, we did this. At this point, she in Zimbabwe. I'm calling her for a reference. It was like February 2023. So she finally touched down. I'm like, it's my turn, right? It's my turn. She got rides. I'm finna get this charter gang, right? No way. TA said no. And I was like, why? I got on the phone with her, and that's when he dropped on me. But we gonna go there, because when she got there, because you got set up and thriving before me.
Okay, so let me say this. This part is too important, and my signal keeps freezing. So I'm catching part of what you're saying, but part of it I'm not. Remember, I told you after about an hour, my signal's gonna do what it does.
Right.
So we have to do a part 2.
We gotta do a part 2. I'm in the belly of the whale, sis.
We gotta do a part 2, because I don't want it to be on my end, because there were a couple times you talking and I'm like, but all I saw was frozen face.
Oh no, that's probably me, because it is raining. Okay, so this is a weird. Well, I guess this is the best part to split it at, because we at the
how the reality versus the theory of what we thought it was going to be like. But once it actually came to fruition, this is it.
Yeah. This is right where it's like.
This is where I feel like, for me, and even in my conversations with you, what our faith was being tested and tried at a whole higher level. I've never encountered what I've encountered in the past 2 years.
Me neither.
I haven't. And during that time, he wasn't even allowing me to talk to nobody, because remember, I didn't have internet, I didn't have phone. So let me just say, he made sure we couldn't depend on each other through those trials, because he wasn't even giving it as an option.
Nope, he wasn't. And he wanted us, because we were 2 hands on. And he like, I need your hands off each other and your hands off what I'm building within you. So it was kind of, and again, it's kind of like he put us in cocoons.
Right. Yeah.
It's very much like the butterfly thing. Like, okay, you've been a caterpillar long enough. I'm going to put you in this isolation chamber. And like, he's just started replaying back the tape. Like, he was like, let me replay back the parts of your life that you missed.
I think this is a perfect place to take a pause, because I don't want to speed through this part. I think it's too important.
Okay. Look, if he's telling you that, I agree. We gonna, but we're not gonna tell y'all when the next one's gonna be. We just gonna pop up. So y'all just gonna have to be ready. Because I really feel like we should have done. Well, I don't feel like he called me to do this sooner, but we had already agreed on a date. So the next one, y'all just gonna have to catch it. And it may be several ones after that. Me and her, the way it goes is when he come to us, we just move. We don't plan nothing. We don't advertise nothing. We just, you want, okay. And we click record. Like, we like this with Jesus.
you froze again.
It froze on you on the robot. I just didn't. Yeah, it's crazy. No,
All right,
but
well,
like I said, what's the saying? We don't know, but we gonna go.
We
'cause
gonna
God
go.
said so.
Until next
So,
time. Until
yeah,
next
yeah,
time. It's always a blessing, my sister. I can't wait to come back
yes,
and do the part 2 and when he says so.
yes, yeah, yeah. More
And I'm
testimonies to come.
absolutely, and I love you. We love y'all. Y'all keep walking
Yes,
in your faith. Get
yes,
out Jesus' way, and he'll launch you forward. I promise you, he will.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
All right.
blessings.
Peace and blessings.